Apre nasce nel 1989 ed è la prima e unica realtà del suo genere in Italia. Apre è un'agenzia senza scopo di lucro che, in stretto collegamento con il MIUR, fornisce ai propri associati, oltre che a imprese, enti pubblici, privati e persone fisiche, informazioni, assistenza, formazione, approfondimenti sulla partecipazione italiana ai programmi quadro di ricerca e innovazione della Commissione europea. Da circa 30 anni accompagna la comunità scientifica e industriale italiana nel percorso verso l'Europa attraverso 6 programmi quadro, capitalizzando un'importante esperienza al servizio della ricerca pubblica e privata. Nel corso degli anni, le attività di Apre sono cresciute e si sono diversificate, ma hanno perseguito sempre un unico obiettivo: supportare e agevolare la partecipazione italiana ai programmi europei di ricerca e innovazione. Apre è sostenuta da una rete di circa 130 soci, provenienti dal sistema italiano di ricerca e innovazione, i quali divengono parte attiva e nello stesso tempo beneficiari delle dinamiche e delle attività dell'agenzia.
Apre è la forza della sua rete.
Credo che il vero valore aggiunto di Apre sia la capacità di portare i soci a Bruxelles, che hanno avuto un ottimo impatto in termini di networking.
Che eventi come questo creano opportunità di future collaborazioni.
Per me il valore non solo di un networking, ma soprattutto un'occasione di incontro e di condivisione delle problematiche.
La rete rende Apre una sede di confronto unica, diffusa sull'intero territorio nazionale, formata da soci interdisciplinari e intersettoriali, per i quali Apre svolge un ruolo di trade union promuovendo scambi e collegamenti su base settoriale e tematica, a livello internazionale e regionale. Grazie ad Apre, i soci hanno accesso alle più aggiornate informazioni sulla programmazione europea e sulle iniziative nazionali. Hanno l'occasione di entrare in contatto con gli attori più rilevanti del proprio settore e di guadagnare visibilità nella comunità internazionale. Hanno l'opportunità di partecipare da protagonisti alla discussione sui programmi di ricerca comunitari e di presentare le proprie proposte.
Apre è informazione, formazione e assistenza, approfondimento.
Il valore aggiunto è dato dalle persone di Apre che si dedicano ai soci con molto entusiasmo e molta competenza.
Apre, per chi fa ricerca nell'ambito europeo, è un punto di riferimento molto importante.
C'è una concentrazione di conoscenze e di expertise notevolissima.
Collaboriamo con Apre molto volentieri, usufruendo di tutti i servizi che Apre mette a disposizione dei soci.
Il valore di Apre sta nelle persone.
Access for SMEs was founded in 2016 with the aim to empower the network of national contact points for small and medium-sized enterprises, and access to risk finance under Horizon 2020, the EU's research and innovation program.
An enhanced European Innovation Council will be launched in 2019. It aims at disruptive and breakthrough innovation and at facilitating access to risk finance for high-risk innovative companies. Partnering with all actors is a must. National contact points of access for SMEs play a key role in the implementation of the pilot by sharing best practices and facilitating access of highly innovative companies to the accelerator.
We identify and share key success factors of SMEs participation, and we create a set of tools like the EIC SME Instrument Annotated Template, a tool to deal with the close-to-market activities within the applications, a guide on how to pitch during the interviews to be held in Brussels, report and guide to access to financial instruments, and many other useful tools to make companies' life easier.
There have been very high quality training offered by Access for SMEs and a great atmosphere, a very informal way to exchange with colleagues from all over Europe.
So from my side, as Enterprise Europe Network, I see a definite added value when I approach a client, a company, with the national contact point together, because both worlds bring different sides to the same story. And this is for the benefit of the client. Internationalization from the Enterprise Europe Network and innovation support, and project financing support from the national contact point.
We are grateful to the European Commission for the grant, but I would also like to emphasize the fact that we had the tremendous support by the Greek national contact points throughout the project journey.
The annotated proposal template includes recommendations, annotations, explanations, and examples to assist companies in their application by providing appropriate tools on how to submit a proposal with good chances in the SME instrument.
Which we definitely would recommend our clients to use.
Buongiorno a tutti. Good morning all of you. It's a pleasure, as Intesa Sanpaolo, to host in this European Innovation Council Info Day organized by APRE on behalf of the European Commission and the Italian Minister of Research in the frame of EIC roadshow promoted by the European Commission. Consider the platea, I switch Italian and go on, and then we can talk about some matter, about what Intesa Sanpaolo did and wanted to do in the future for innovation and support to the SMEs and startups that our country needs a lot. Intesa Sanpaolo, credo un po' tutti la conosciate, è una banca che è sicuramente leader in Italia, ma non solo in Italia, anche una delle principali banche in Europa. In Italia abbiamo una rete, una capillarità sul territorio che ci consente di raggiungere effettivamente tutte quelle che sono le iniziative piccole e grandi che siano. Abbiamo circa 4.000 filiali che appunto ci rendono leader in tutti i segmenti di clientela, che si tratti di retail, di corporate, di SMEs o di wealth management. Però siamo anche presenti in 12 nazioni europee con delle banche, spesso e volentieri leader in quel mercato, e conseguentemente siamo in grado di fornire un supporto alle imprese locali, ma anche alle imprese italiane che operano in quei paesi. E inoltre siamo, direi, presenti in tutti i continenti, perché attraverso filiali o uffici di rappresentanza copriamo altri 25 paesi. Questo è un network messo a disposizione ovviamente di tutte le imprese italiane, un network che continuiamo a rafforzare per poter essere di supporto a un'economia del paese, del nostro paese nello specifico, formato da tante piccole e medie aziende che fortunatamente negli ultimi anni si sono internazionalizzate, hanno investito molto in innovazione e conseguentemente sono diventate sempre più competitive. Considerando che le piccole e medie aziende, cioè quelle fino a 250 dipendenti, rappresentano il 50% dell'avanzo commerciale del nostro paese, ecco, è significativo di quanto sono forti, ma di quello che è il tessuto della nostra economia. Tenete presente che le piccole e medie aziende tedesche rappresentano solo il 13% dell'avanzo commerciale della Germania. Quindi le piccole e medie aziende per noi sono fondamentali, le piccole e medie aziende devono crescere e devono crescere attraverso l'innovazione. Ed è per questo che noi già da qualche anno abbiamo iniziato a investire in questo ambito. Ricordavo stamattina proprio con dei colleghi che più di 10 anni fa abbiamo dato vita a Startup Initiative, che è stata forse la prima iniziativa in Italia di supporto alle idee di tanti giovani e meno giovani che avevano necessità di trovare capitali di venture capital e dei business angels, E quindi questa iniziativa ci ha portato a selezionare migliaia e migliaia di start-up, mettere a loro disposizione il nostro network che abbiamo sviluppato in Europa, e non solo in Europa, ma negli Stati Uniti, in Israele, che sapete essere comunque un paese molto attento alle iniziative di innovazione, e quindi abbiamo consentito a alcune di queste di trovare i capitali necessari per poter crescere. E poi non ci siamo limitati a quello, perché abbiamo anche investito in fondi che avevano proprio come obiettivo quello di sostenere l'innovazione, quindi le start-up, e abbiamo completato, meno in parte, per quanto riguarda l'equity, il supporto alle iniziative. Non solo di equity si vive, ci vuole anche il debito, siamo una banca, e quindi abbiamo messo in atto tutta una serie di iniziative, di strumenti che ci hanno consentito di finanziare 1600 start-up che hanno fatto investimenti per 3,3 billion, o SMEs, start-up o SMEs innovative. Credo che questo sia significativo da un lato di quello che è il nostro impegno, dall'altro del fermento che effettivamente c'è nel nostro Paese. Poi non ci limitiamo a quello, perché grazie anche al supporto dell'Unione Europea e alle forme di sostegno che l'Unione Europea dà attraverso anche la Banca Europea degli Investimenti, abbiamo chiuso diversi accordi di collaborazione che consentono di beneficiare della garanzia Innofin, e quindi abbiamo un plafond a disposizione di 300 milioni con garanzia al 50% appunto di Innofin, che ci consente di finanziare le SMEs che hanno, come dire, disruptive innovation, e anche quelle che magari, avendo appunto investito molto, non hanno un elevato merito di credito, che è un po' il punto debole delle piccole e medie aziende. Spesso e volentieri hanno idee, hanno progetti, necessitano di un supporto finanziario e avendo poco patrimonio hanno difficile accesso al credito. Quindi affiancando quelli che sono gli strumenti di supporto dati dal nostro Paese, quindi diciamo la 662, riusciamo, grazie appunto, come dicevo prima, anche all'Unione Europea ad avere la disponibilità di risorse che possono aiutare l'innovazione. Ma non ci fermiamo a quello, perché abbiamo all'interno di Mediocredito un team di specialisti, di ingegneri, che hanno maturato una notevole esperienza, innanzitutto valutando i progetti sostenuti dal Fondo Crescita Sostenibile, ma che oggi sempre di più cerchiamo di in qualche modo rafforzare, mettendo a disposizione queste risorse, queste straordinarie competenze. Lo dico, vabbè, è chiaro che parlo di miei colleghi, ma vi assicuro che il contributo che questi colleghi possono dare, credo che alcuni in platea abbiano anche avuto modo di sperimentarlo, è veramente importante. E oggi abbiamo un team dedicato esclusivamente al supporto per le aziende, per aiutarle ad avere accesso ai fondi che la Commissione Europea mette a disposizione. Oggi si parlerà di nuovi programmi, di quello che è il completamento di Horizon 2020, ma credo si faranno anche degli accenni sul nuovo programma Horizon Europe, che mi auguro, ma almeno per quello che mi ha dato sapere, sarà ancora di più concentrato sull'innovazione disruptive, sul sostegno alle piccole e medie aziende, e quindi invito tutti a dare un contributo oggi o comunque nelle settimane, nei mesi prossimi, perché effettivamente abbiamo bisogno di innovare il nostro Paese, ma direi l'Europa nel suo complesso. Poi io sono un po' di parte, parlo del nostro Paese, ma è chiaro che in questo momento, a nostro modo di vedere, l'Europa si trova proprio in mezzo a due realtà che sappiamo essere la Cina e gli Stati Uniti, che stanno dominando il panorama globale dell'innovazione. L'Europa non può permettersi di rimanere indietro, questo è il mio punto di vista, e quindi grazie a quello che l'Unione Europea e la Commissione Europea riuscirà e sta cercando di fare, credo che le risorse per l'innovazione dovranno essere veramente il gasoline del futuro dell'Europa. L'Europa si gioca una partita strategica, l'Italia all'interno dell'Europa forse ancora di più. Dobbiamo essere più capaci tutti assieme a lavorare assieme all'Europa per innovare. Noi abbiamo un po' di difficoltà come aziende italiane a accedere a questi fondi ed è per questo che abbiamo creato un team dedicato ad aiutare le aziende ad avere maggiore accesso a questi fondi. Questo è il nostro impegno, ma è un impegno che credo oggi vedrete e sentirete anche dei rappresentanti della Commissione Europea quanta attenzione ci sia a questo paese, al nostro paese. Il fatto che siamo qua credo che ne sia una riprova. E voglio aggiungere anche un altro elemento che mi viene, e ci pensavo stamattina venendo qua. Questo caldo che è asfissiante, qualche riflessione la deve far fare a tutti noi, no? Cioè, voglio dire, queste temperature sono l'ulteriore riprova che, ahimè, il nostro pianeta sta soffrendo e conseguentemente soffriamo anche noi. L'innovazione deve essere un'innovazione che ci consenta di preservare questo pianeta, di lasciare a chi verrà dopo di noi, mi auguro, qualcosa di meglio di quello che noi abbiamo trovato. Non stiamo facendo questo, però credo che sia doveroso impegnarsi per raggiungere questo scopo. I fondi che verranno messi a disposizione sono fondi per l'innovazione. L'innovazione non deve necessariamente fare ricchi soltanto, nel senso che chi ha l'idea poi diventa molto ricco. Ecco, io sono per un'economia sostenibile, e l'economia sostenibile c'è quando la ricchezza viene poi ridistribuita. Ridistribuire la ricchezza vuole dire anche pensare a fare delle cose per il bene sociale che significa ridurre probabilmente le disparità, vuole dire pensare all'ambiente, quindi tutto quello che può migliorare la qualità della vita. Questa è una sfida che noi abbiamo, questa sfida come Intesa San Paolo la vogliamo sostenere. Il nostro piano industriale ha detto chiaramente che vogliamo essere un impact bank vuole dire fare anche queste cose, vuole dire mettere a disposizione 5 miliardi per l'economia circolare, vuole dire quindi investire sull'innovazione che possa consentire a tutti di vivere meglio. Con questo augurio e quindi credo un pensiero, immagino, condiviso da molti, mi auguro che questa possa essere una giornata fruttuosa e che possa essere di stimolo a tutti per lavorare assieme, perché dobbiamo lavorare assieme in Italia ma assieme in Europa, per le cose che vi ho detto prima, possa consentirci nei prossimi anni effettivamente di mettere a frutto tutto quello che è un investimento importante che l'Unione Europea sta cercando appunto di mettere a supporto delle aziende. Grazie e ancora buon lavoro a tutti. Thanks. Chiamo sul palco il dottor Massimo Gaudina che proseguirà nei lavori.
Bene, buongiorno a tutti anche da parte della Commissione europea. Io come capo della rappresentanza a Milano vi do il benvenuto a questo evento che è stato voluto dalla Commissione europea, Direzione Generale Ricerca e Innovazione, e che è stato appunto affidato all'APRE, che ringrazio a loro volta. Anch'io, let me say something in English just to welcome the non-Italian participants to this event. I know there are a few. And let me welcome, of course, my colleagues coming from Brussels, Director Malot, and all the colleagues that will certainly address you in English. But I will continue in Italian as well, come il dottor Testa, che ringrazio per il suo intervento, per la sua introduzione, che è stata musica per le mie orecchie per tanti motivi, non soltanto perché siamo in un auditorium in largo Gustav Mahler, ma perché ha sottolineato il valore aggiunto dell'Europa in un mondo globalizzato in cui i nostri piccoli paesi da soli possono fare veramente poco. E poi perché ha citato la crisi climatica, i cambiamenti climatici che sono al centro dell'attenzione di tutti noi, e mi piace ricordare in questo contesto che per il futuro programma quadro, il futuro programma Horizon Europe, la Commissione aveva proposto di destinare una buona fetta dei futuri finanziamenti a progetti legati in qualche modo al cambiamento climatico, e che il Parlamento europeo ha voluto aumentare ancora di più questa ambizione, e quindi la proposta attuale è che almeno il 35% dei futuri programmi, dei futuri progetti Horizon Europe sia in qualche modo legato direttamente o indirettamente allo sviluppo sostenibile e alla lotta ai cambiamenti climatici. Quindi siamo su questo perfettamente allineati. Intanto ringrazio APRE anche per la scelta di Milano come sede dell'evento nazionale di lancio di questo European Innovation Council insieme ai colleghi di Bruxelles, una scelta azzeccata perché la sala è praticamente piena e perché qui c'è sicuramente un ambiente ricettivo come in tutta Italia su questi temi. Lo European Innovation Council è l'ultima creatura, il neonato della grande famiglia della ricerca europea, ed è nato perché c'era un bisogno specifico che sarà spiegato fra poco nei prossimi interventi, ma che si può riassumere dicendo che c'era un gap nella catena dell'innovazione per il passaggio dalla scienza, cioè dalla conoscenza scientifica, fino alla produzione, l'industria, la società, il passaggio tra la scienza e l'economia, o la società se vogliamo, il passaggio dalla ricerca passando per l'innovazione e arrivando poi alla catena produttiva. Mancava qualcosa, mancava uno strumento che potesse rafforzare questo anello debole, dove si incrociano la conoscenza, come dicevamo, con l'industria, ma si incrociano anche le tecnologie fisiche con quelle digitali, dove si incrociano le piccole imprese, gli innovatori, le start-up con le grandi imprese, e così come si incrociano anche le idee con l'accesso al capitale. È un punto di incrocio che era fondamentale. E il commissario Moedas lo ha ricordato molto bene, ha detto più di una volta che a livello europeo Europe does not yet have a world-class scheme to support the very best innovations in the way the European Research Council is the global reference for supporting excellent science. So I would like us to take stock of the various schemes to support innovation and SMEs under Horizon 2020 first and now Horizon Europe, to look at best practice internationally and to design a new European Innovation Council. Questo è il background, questa è la sfida e questa è la grande ambizione. L'idea era appunto ispirata anche allo European Research Council, che gli addetti ai lavori conoscono bene, una grandissima storia di successo per l'Europa della ricerca, che ha prodotto decine di migliaia di articoli scientifici, che ha permesso a tante scoperte scientifiche di essere realizzate, che ha concesso a tanti talenti, a tanti cervelli di restare in Europa o di ritornare in Europa, e che era basato è tuttora basato su alcuni pilastri e su alcuni principi molto chiari che in qualche modo lo European Innovation Council vuole replicare. Ne ricordo 3: l'approccio bottom-up, l'approccio high risk, premiare le idee ambiziose, quelle che vogliono rischiare per avere poi un high gain, e poi l'aver identificato un gruppo di scienziati, per quanto riguarda lo European Research Council, ma un gruppo di innovatori per quanto riguarda l'EIC, 22 persone che saranno la testa pensante di questa organizzazione. Anche questo è un approccio che seguirà lo European Resource Council, che ha nominato proprio ieri i 22 membri del board, che non vi anticipo perché i miei colleghi lo faranno dopo di me. Quindi European Innovation Council è nato per questi motivi, esiste come progetto pilota e continuerà come progetto pilota nel 2019-2020, ne parleremo tra poco. Continuerà sotto Horizon Europe. Ricordiamo che la proposta della Commissione europea per Horizon Europe, che è stata introdotta già circa un anno fa, prevede un finanziamento globale di 100 miliardi di euro per la ricerca europea, il più grande programma di ricerca mai lanciato in Europa, uno dei più grandi al mondo. Di questi 100 miliardi della proposta della Commissione europea, 10 dovrebbero andare allo European Innovation Council, anche se poi ci sono stati negoziati e ci sono negoziati in corso per il budget, che è l'elemento che non è ancora stato deciso di tutto questo, e questo dipenderà anche dall'accordo sulle prospettive finanziarie globali, cioè sul pacchetto sul maxi bilancio europeo di lungo periodo 2021-27 che i 27 paesi stanno decidendo in queste settimane e in questi mesi e decideranno il tetto massimo di spesa in tutte le macro aree di intervento europeo, compresa la ricerca, che come sapete è diventata la terza voce di spesa europea dopo l'agricoltura e dopo i fondi strutturali. Fatemi ricordare anche che al di là dei parlamentari europei e al di là dei 27 governi, il futuro programma sarà disegnato anche con l'apporto della società civile, degli stakeholders e di tutti gli addetti ai lavori, perché proprio ieri la Commissione ha lanciato una consultazione in questo senso e sono certo che anche su questo i miei colleghi vi diranno qualcosa di più. Innovazione e ricerca dunque come grande priorità per l'Europa, per tutti i motivi che abbiamo già ascoltato. Innovazione e ricerca che sono molto importanti anche per l'Italia. È già stato detto, l'Italia è un paese di piccole e medie imprese. Lo European Innovation Council è uno strumento pensato principalmente per le piccole e medie imprese. E l'Italia è anche uno dei paesi che è stato classificato, secondo l'ultimo Innovation Scoreboard, come un moderate innovator, uno dei paesi che hanno un livello di innovazione moderato, sotto la media, un paese che ha bisogno di investire di più e di investire meglio in tutto questo. E quindi per tutti questi motivi è evidente che l'interesse europeo di rafforzare l'innovazione e la ricerca e l'interesse italiano coincidono perfettamente. Io concludo qui questo mio brevissimo intervento di saluto e di benvenuto. Vi auguro una buona giornata di lavori e di discussioni e vi auguro soprattutto di poter riempire questa cornice che sarà raccontata quest'oggi con le vostre idee, con i vostri progetti, con le vostre proposte, sia per la consultazione per il futuro programma quadro, sia per i prossimi bandi e le prossime attività che lo European Innovation Council, ma in generale la Commissione europea, offrirà nei prossimi mesi. Grazie e buona giornata.
Allora, buongiorno, intanto evidentemente non sono Fabrizio Sala, purtroppo il vicepresidente non può essere con noi e quindi velocissimamente porto i suoi saluti e soprattutto do anche il mio ringraziamento, perché adesso dirò chiaramente qualche cosa come Marco Falsetti, come direttore di Apre. Comincio dai ringraziamenti e ringrazio soprattutto anche la Regione Lombardia che ci ha seguito nell'organizzazione di questa cosa, che il fatto di essere svolta qui a Milano evidentemente ha un suo senso. Cominciamo dall'inizio. Sono Marco Falsetti, sono direttore di Apre. Adesso entriamo nella fase un pochino più operativa della giornata. Cercherò di recuperare un attimo un po' di tempo, siamo un pochino lunghi perché abbiamo aspettato l'inizio per avere la sala sostanzialmente piena. E vi racconto brevissimamente quello che faremo oggi. Oggi parleremo di European Innovation Council. L'idea non è nostra, come è stato detto, questa giornata è stata una giornata voluta dalla Commissione europea. Avremo qui insieme a noi oggi un personaggio molto importante all'interno di questa ragionamento, sia perché sta disegnando ciò che sta accadendo in questo momento su questo tema, ma soprattutto sarà l'artefice di quello che sarà poi il prossimo European Innovation Council. Oggi parleremo di European Innovation Council sfruttando quello che sono le novità del pilot che diciamo, chiude questa fase preparatoria che si è già avviata durante la fase finale di Horizon 2020 e cominceremo a capire cosa avremo di fronte nel prossimo futuro quando parleremo dello sviluppo completo dell'European Innovation Council nel prossimo programma quadro, cioè quello che chiamiamo Horizon Europe. La sessione che dovevamo moderare prevedeva fondamentalmente due personaggi, Jean-David Malo, che chiamerò tra un attimo, e il professor Giuseppe Valditara come rappresentante del MIUR. Purtroppo il professor Valditara ha avuto diciamo, una concomitanza di eventi e lo ha portato a non poter essere a quest'ora qui a Milano con noi, e questo chiaramente mi dispiace personalmente, però il professore ha voluto dare comunque un messaggio. Vi chiedo solamente 5 minuti e vi leggerò quelle che sono le parole che ci ha chiesto di trasmettere a voi, un pochino una sintesi di un pensiero. Non avremo chiaramente la possibilità di fare un dialogo a tre tra Jean-David Malo e Valditara, ma almeno poi cercherò io di provare a riportare qualche cosa che immagino poteva essere. Allora, vi leggo queste parole come ricevute dal professor Valditara. Innanzitutto vi porto il saluto del Ministro e del Ministero e ringrazio la Commissione europea per aver promosso questo evento e APRE per averlo organizzato. Mi dispiace molto non poter presenziare di persona in questa importante occasione. Ci tengo tuttavia a condividere questo messaggio con la Commissione e tutti voi presenti. Sono convinto che la ricerca scientifica e tecnologica debba rappresentare un elemento trainante per aumentare il livello di innovazione e sviluppo delle società e delle economie europee. Per assicurare un futuro più prospero al Paese e all'Europa dobbiamo investire in ricerca e innovazione. Per competere a livello mondiale e preservare il nostro tessuto industriale e sociale ed il nostro ambiente dobbiamo investire in ricerca e innovazione. Il contesto europeo è interessante per assicurare il valore aggiunto, favorire la collaborazione tra università, enti di ricerca, aziende e start-up e di diversi paesi e settori. Il prossimo programma quadro Horizon Europe raccoglierà dal 2021 in avanti l'eredità di Horizon 2020 nel finanziamento a ricerca e innovazione in Europa. Sulla base dei risultati e del successo di Horizon 2020 e con una dotazione finanziaria proposta di 94 miliardi di euro per il periodo 21-27, esso si focalizzerà ancora maggiormente sul trasferimento della conoscenza. Decisivo in questo senso è e sarà il ruolo dell'European Innovation Council, con la sua fase pilota 2019-2020 di cui si parla oggi. L'attenzione è sulle cosiddette innovazioni ad alto rischio, ma ad alto potenziale di mercato, anche allo scopo di creare nuovi posti di lavoro. L'evento di oggi può essere ugualmente l'occasione per condividere lo spirito di una rinnovata e convinta attenzione nei confronti del ruolo del mondo della ricerca e dell'innovazione italiana in sé e nel contesto europeo. Per quanto ci riguarda, l'affermazione delle migliori energie italiane, insieme al miglioramento delle condizioni ambientali in cui i ricercatori del comparto pubblico e privato operano, sono i più importanti filoni sui quali le nostre energie si stanno concentrando. È in questa chiave che stiamo affrontando anche il programma quadro per la ricerca e l'innovazione. Il governo italiano ha partecipato attivamente alle attività negoziali sul pacchetto legislativo di Horizon Europe, portando avanti linee strategiche di interesse sia regionale che europeo, assicurando per esempio che si continui a prestare attenzione al settore spaziale e a dare supporto alle piccole e medie imprese. Ci stiamo altresì concentrando sui partenariati con l'obiettivo di garantire la continuità di quelli già esistenti e la promozione di nuove iniziative per noi prioritarie. Una di queste riguarda senza dubbio l'intelligenza artificiale, settore di rilevanza strategica sul quale il MIUR si sta spendendo in modo particolare, anche attraverso la definizione di una serie di accordi bilaterali in materia. Vi auguro buon lavoro. Saluto personalmente il direttore Jean-David Malo, con il quale ci saranno sicuramente ulteriori occasioni di scambio. Auspicio e che i temi affrontati nel corso della giornata aiuteranno i nostri ricercatori, le nostre imprese e i nostri innovatori a prepararsi al meglio in vista delle prossime sfide. Giuseppe Valditara. Quindi ringrazio intanto il professor Valditara per questo messaggio e a questo punto, in the meantime, I will switch a little to the English to allow a direct contact with our friends Jean-David Malo. So I invite Jean-David Malo to join the stage with me. Has been already introduced, Jean-David Malo as Director of the EIC Task Force of the European Commission from the Directorate Research and Innovation. Please take a chair just for a second. I will give you the floor immediately. And what we are going to do now is to have a short presentation from Jean-David. He will give a sort of keynote about what is in EIC today. I'm speaking about the pilot, but this will be the opportunity to launch elements for discussion for the longer future. That means thinking already to 2021, when we will start with a new Horizon Europe. So let me say just a couple of things. I will switch again in Italian. È l'unica mia occasione di fare. Finisco i miei ringraziamenti che avevo iniziato prima. Voglio ringraziare evidentemente chi ci sta ospitando, Intesa San Paolo, che ha permesso tutto questo e soprattutto di permettere per noi di Apre di fare un'organizzazione così imponente in una città che non era Roma, nella quale ci muoviamo con una certa più familiarità. Quindi tutto questo grazie a Intesa San Paolo. Vorrei ringraziare poi tutti i panelist che più o meno sono gli amici che ritroviamo quando si discutono di queste cose. E infine evidentemente devo ringraziare lo staff di Apre, perché non è per mio merito, ma è il merito delle persone che hanno lavorato nell'organizzazione di tutta questa giornata che oggi anche come Apre siamo qui. Now, switch again to the English. Jean-David, the keynote is for you. If we can keep it in 20 minutes, I will, let's say, try to have a 10 minutes of discussion with you after your speech. I will going to sit again there, so the floor is all for you, please.
Thanks a lot, and good morning, everybody. First of all, many thanks for the organizer, for Apre, for Muir, as well as from colleagues from the European Commission for making this event possible. I'm very impressed by the audience. I have to tell you that I take no risk by saying that you are the most important audience that we had for the time being in the roadshow. So congratulations, first of all, to you for being here today. And also it demonstrates that, as it was foreseen in our mind, Italy is, by definition, very committed as far as support to innovation in Europe is concerned. It's my pleasure this morning to introduce you what is the European Innovation Council, and to start by its rationale, where it comes from, what we would like to tackle with this new initiative, and then all along the day, together with my colleague, to answer all your questions regarding the pilot that we have just launched a few weeks ago, and where we had some additional important event and step, as was said by the head of representation here in the north of Italy of the Commission, with new announcements regarding the establishment of the EIC Advisory Board and the launch of the call for program managers. But let's start by the beginning. Where is the idea coming from? Europe is and remains one of the leaders in terms of generation of knowledge in the world. This is a fact. And this is good news. We remain the place where you can find some of the best universities in the world, the place where you have some of the most educated people, the place where you have great researchers. Look at the number of European researchers that are publishing in top journal. Look at the number of Europeans that are laureate of a very famous prize like the Nobel Prize or the Phelps Medal. We are also a place where we are able to create and generate startups, and in particular disruptive startups, deep tech startups. And if you look, for example, of the last data in 2017, we were able in Europe to create more startups than in the US. But we have also to recognize something else. We remain with a number of weaknesses, and when I said we remain, it's because we have more or less the same weaknesses from the last 20 years, which are this incapacity, in fact, to transfer this knowledge into products, process, new activities, and therefore new companies, growth and jobs for Europeans. This is also a fact. And if we are research leaders, generation of knowledge leaders in the world, we are not anymore innovation leaders. And we have to recognize it. I mean, if we want to take the appropriate initiative, we should look at the reality as it is. We are not anymore innovation leaders in a number of areas. Not in all areas, but in a number of areas. You have a number of reasons behind this. First, it's because, and we have also to recognize it, and it requires additional work, despite a number of improvements, we have not yet a single market in Europe. We made a lot of improvement to create a single market, but we have not yet a full and complete single market in Europe. Sorry for the iPhone. Yes, it's here. We have not yet this single market fully, like you have, for example, in the US. I will do it, don't worry. First issue. Second issue that we have to face in Europe, we have not a market in terms of investment that helps, in fact, our innovative startup to grow up quickly. Everybody, of course, is talking about the fact that the venture capital market is fragmented in Europe. It's a fact. But let's be honest, it's also fragmented in the US. So the issue of fragmentation in this context is not the real issue. The real issue regarding the venture capital, to take this example, but you could take the same kind of example globally in terms of investment, in particular in early stage, is that we have not sufficient critical mass. We have a lot of rather small funds, globally 3 to 4 times smaller than the ones that you can find in the United States, for example. And as a consequence of this, I mean, those funds cannot take the level of risk that you could expect because of the necessary diversification of their portfolio if they want to have the returns they are looking for. So globally, this issue remains, and despite a number of initiatives, like for example the Venture EU initiative, like for example some initiative took in the context of the Juncker plan, we remain with a difficulty in this area. The third reason behind this weakness is that we have not yet been able to create a good interaction between the various actors of the local or regional innovation ecosystem. You could do anything you want at EU level, you could put a lot of money, you will never help a company to grow up only with money. Money is not sufficient. You need additional skills, additional competencies that should be provided to our young entrepreneurs. And when I said young entrepreneur, you can be a young entrepreneur when you have my age or even older. But just to provide them with the necessary skills that they need at a certain moment. And this can only be provided locally. So for all those reasons, we are still facing a number of difficulties in Europe. And if you look at concrete areas, it's time to take some actions. Why? We have to admit that we have lost the battle of the digital revolution. not the war, the battle. The battle of digital revolution has been won and is currently led by the US, with more and more a number of Chinese companies coming up. If you look, for example, of the 20 most valorized international companies in the IT sector or internet sector in the world, all of them are US or Chinese. None of them are European. We lost this battle, but we know that a new battle is coming, a new wave of revolution in terms of new technologies coming up that will create a real revolution in our society. We know that artificial intelligence will have a big impact on the way we work, on the way we live. We know that quantum technology will change also the way we are living. We know that in health, a revolution is coming that will have also some impact on collateral dimension, like, for example, the way insurances are working. All of this is coming up. We don't know yet which technology or which technologies in this area will lead the revolution in one or another sector. But we know that it will come. Of course, you cannot say in advance which technology will be a disruptive technology, because by essence, you only can qualify a technology as disruptive in the market when it took place. You cannot guess in advance that it will be disruptive. It has the potential to be disruptive, but the fact that it will be disruptive is something that you admit afterwards. So it means that you have to take some risk, but it means that nevertheless, you have to invest and you have to provide all your potential startups, SMEs, companies that are ready to develop these technologies into new products or new processes could benefit from it. This is the whole rationale of the European Innovation Council. It's nothing less, nothing more, but it's already a lot. The whole rationale of the European Innovation Council is there. It was recalled by our friend who is leading the head of the representation of the Commission in the north of Italy. We have the ambition with the European Innovation Council to create for innovation what we have created for basic research with the European Research Council. And there is no reason why we should not be able to do it. We have brilliant researchers, we have brilliant entrepreneurs, we are not more idiots than other people in the world. We have a wonderful market. Let's never forget that Europe is the wealthiest place in the world. We have a huge potential in terms of clients. We just have to put all the blocks all together in order to create the capacity and opportunity of wealth for our countries, and in particular here in Italy. So I will not repeat what I just said here. I just would like to tell you a bit more how this come up. The idea come up in a speech of Commissioner Moedas, a speech that took place a few weeks only after its nomination as Commissioner for Research, Innovation and Science. But of course, it was necessary to build the concept per se. And to be as efficient as possible, it was absolutely necessary to be directly connected with the reality on the ground. And certainly not to develop the concept of the European Innovation Council in a dark office somewhere in Brussels, but directly connected with actors on the ground. So the idea of the European Innovation Council, the first recommendation of the European Innovation Council, were elaborated by the 15 people that you have on this slide. All of them coming from the venture capital world, coming from innovation ecosystem, being themselves startuper or CEO of big companies. Just to take some example, you can see on this picture Jim Snabe Hagerman, which is currently the CEO of Siemens and Merckx. Or you can see Hermann Hauser, who was the chair of this group, who is the number 2 of Amadeus Capital in UK, so a venture capital company. So a very high-level group of people. They made their recommendation. The recommendations were endorsed by the Council and in reality by the European Council. Because something very important happened indeed in last June 2018. In last June 2018, the European Council, so in other words, the Council of the Leaders of the Union, in their conclusion of their last meeting, said 2 important things. The first one was a kind of a revolution. They said in 2018 that there will be a European Innovation Council post-2020. It may appear as a simple declaration like this, but put this a little bit in perspective. In June 2018, we were just a few days after the proposal of the Commission for the next multi-financial framework and for the next framework program for research and innovation. Not yet at the beginning of the discussion between the Council and the Parliament for the content of the next period. And even before the start of the debate, the European Council, so the head of state, have committed all together that there will be a European Innovation Council. So a very strong political message. But even more strong than this was the second part of the sentence of the conclusion, where the European Council asked the Commission to start immediately the European Innovation Council and not to wait for the period post-2020, because time was running and it was urgent to act in this particular area where we remain very weak in Europe. So, as a consequence of this, we have, on the side of the Commission, launched indeed the pilot of the European Innovation Council. What are the main characteristics of this European Innovation Council? First, it will act as a one-stop shop for any breakthrough market-creating innovator. When I said any innovator, I just would like to insist that an innovator can be everywhere. In a garage, in a lab of a university, in a company, everywhere. It can be a researcher, it can be an inventor, it can be anybody that have the idea to innovate. Second, it will be open to all kinds of innovators. And I know that in this country, it was very close to your heart to continue to have a support to incremental innovation and not only to disruptive innovation. And the European Innovation Council will propose support to both incremental and disruptive. Of course, the level of support very likely will be higher on disruptive because it's high risk, it requires more intensive investments than incremental innovation, but both will be open in the context of the European Innovation Council. Second characteristic of the European Innovation Council will be that the funding will be very agile and will be fitting for purpose of the need of those innovators. The idea of the EIC is that we have to stimulate the emergence of breakthrough science that can lead to disruptive innovation or incremental innovation that is market creating. But on the other hand, we have also to provide the means for the scaling up of those startups and SMEs that have the potential to lead this disruptive innovation. So on the both legs, we need to have appropriate type of funding. On what I will call the upstream leg, so the stimulation of radical science, radical technologies that can lead to disruptive innovation, we will continue to invest massively in the support of future emerging technologies like we are doing it today, but with a slight difference. We will stimulate the interest of the owner of the project, not only to generate knowledge, but to gradually start to use the knowledge and to transfer the result of the knowledge to people who are ready to use it. So this will take the form of a scheme that is called the Pathfinder, which is in fact building on a program that exists today, which is Future Emerging Technology, bottom-up, the open part of FET, or top-down, the proactive part of FET, but with a number of transition activities that will indeed accompany the consortia supported under this Pathfinder program in order to use as far as possible the result of the knowledge and to transfer it towards an innovation use. On the downstream dimension, the idea is there, as I told you, to provide support for the scaling up of our startup and SMEs in Europe. The accelerator scheme, which is the new name of what was called before the SME Instrument Phase 2, will go in fact beyond the SME Instrument Phase 2. Because within the SME Instrument Phase 2, what we are doing, is mainly to provide the grant in order to continue to develop your research and innovation plan in the company. But never ever on earth you have seen a company growing up only with grants. A company can only grow up with two possibilities. Either it has additional business activities, commercial activities, or it is capable to attract additional investors to continue to grow up. But you never grow up with grants. So for the growth dimension, we will introduce a real revolution in the way we are proceeding at EU level. We will propose to our applicants the possibility to call for equity finance that will accompany the grant support that we are providing, an equity finance that we are ready on the side of the Commission to take ourselves if the private sector is not ready to come in. This is certainly the most important change that is proposed within the European Innovation Council, in particular within the accelerator scheme, because for the first time, in this particular segment where for the time being the private sector is or remains reluctant to invest, the European Commission with its own fund will be ready to invest directly in startup and SMEs, with the objective, of course, to opt out as soon as the private sector will be ready to invest into these companies. Another key dimension will be, of course, that we would like to create a real fluidity between the various stages of development of a company. For that reason, projects selected under the Pathfinder will have a particular access to the accelerator. And on the same side, projects that will be funded under the accelerator will be put into close connection with any other support that could be found in the context of the successor of the Juncker Plan or the successor of Innofin that you mentioned in the future MFF, in the context of InvestEU, because there will be successor of Innofin, successor of Cosme loans, in the future successor of the Juncker plan, which is called InvestEU. And in terms of research and innovation, and in terms of support to innovative SMEs, we intend to continue the successful instruments that were the SME guarantee scheme or the innovative finance for equity under Innofin. Last but not least, we intend to provide a necessary support also to the ecosystem around the EIC. And in this context, we will, already in the context of the pilots, we will create some partnership with other actors of the ecosystem. Very likely we will test one with one or two of the knowledge and innovation communities of the EIT, very likely in the sector of energy and or in the sector of digital and health. We will also continue to provide support via challenges, via prizes, in order to tackle a particular, how could I say, a particular issue that could make a change for the society or that could make a change in a particular area in the form of an inducement prize. And last but not least, we will manage our project in the context of the EIC in a totally different way. We will manage our project not via the usual administrator of the Commission that, like me, after 20 years are totally disconnected from the ground. We will hire people that are working in the relevant area for a temporary period, 3 years, maximum 4 years, which will have a knowledge of the technology concerned, but which will have also experience in the support to companies, to entrepreneurship, and which will have the necessary background also in terms of finance, in order to accompany on a daily basis the project that we will support under the EIC and to create the connection between those projects and the entire community. Those are the so-called EIC program managers. And the EIC program managers, in fact, is not anymore an objective. We have launched yesterday the first call for the selection of the first 5 EIC program managers. You have the possibility to submit your candidature by the end of July. And the first EIC program manager will be in place by the end of the year for the first project. I promised to my friend that I will not be too long, but I just require 2 additional minutes just to say that the budget for this pilot will be for a maximum of 2.2 billion euro for the period 2019-2020, and that we will, in the context of the pilot, in fact, launch all the main characteristic of the EIC as it was discussed in the context of the negotiation of Horizon Europe, meaning the new Pathfinder, top-down and bottom-up, the 2 dimensions will be there, and in particular the top-down dimension is already there with the first 3 topics open for a particular call this year. You will know more after the lunch break this afternoon. We will launch also, and we have launched the pilot for the accelerator, and the possibility of blended finance, so grant and equity, is already open. You will have the possibility to call for up to 2.5 million euro of grants and up to 15 million euro per project in terms of equity. We have launched the first call for program managers, And I would like to conclude by this one. We have announced yesterday the composition of the EIC Advisory Board pilot. We launched, in fact, the call for expression of interest on the 18th of March with a deadline on the 10th of May. We have received almost 600 candidatures all over Europe. And finally, after a quite intensive work in terms of assessment of the high-level candidature that we have received, we have announced yesterday the composition of the 22 members. The chair of this group will be Mark Ferguson. I suppose that in the room a lot of you knows Mark Ferguson. Mark Ferguson is Chief Scientist Advisor of the Irish government, but he is also the chair of Science Foundation Ireland. The vice chair of the group will be Hermann Hauser. So Hermann Hauser was the former chair of the ICI level group of innovators and is the number 2 of Amadeus Capital. And within the 20 other members, it's my pleasure here in Italy to say that there are 2 Italian. One is Roberto Verganti, and the other one is a lady, Mrs. Valeria Nicolosi, which is working in Trinity College in Dublin. So, I hope I was not too long. I just would like, with this introduction, to give you a general overview of what will be the EIC. The EIC, which is not anymore a dream or an objective, the EIC is now a reality that you can benefit of. And be sure of one thing. On the side of the Commission, the EIC is clearly the most important change in the future framework program. But at the request of the Council, it's the most important change of the current framework program too, in the end of this current framework program. Of course, it's very ambitious. Of course, it will require to change the way we are working, and I'm lucky to have in my team, in the Executive Agency for SME, in the Research Executive Agency, in my team in DG RTD and in DG Connect, people that are fully committed. A number of them are here today and will answer all your questions this afternoon. But of course, we can only succeed if you are also committed to make this objective a reality. We have all the skills in Europe to become again the innovation world leaders. So now, up to you.
Okay, thank you a lot, Jean David. Just 2 seconds again in Italian. Avete ascoltato che nella fase finale Jean-David Malot ha cominciato a raccontare alcuni dettagli. Non c'è nessuna presunzione di risolverli adesso, c'è tutta la giornata e durante la giornata, in particolar modo già nella tavola rotonda successiva, il professor De Minine comincerà a stuzzicare un pochino su alcuni dettagli, ma soprattutto nel pomeriggio ci sarà una fase nel quale tutte quelle cose saranno declinate in varie sessioni per cercare di capire che cosa significano realmente. Now, come back to our guest here, just to try to remain on the general level. I don't want to anticipate some things that will be, in any case, addressed by Alberto in very short time. Let's start in this way. I am the director of APRE. I had to explain to this system organization and a lot of other people that are not sitting today in the next future what is and how they should approach the European Innovation Council. This is not an easy task for me. Some things that I'm preoccupied about that. First of all, because I had to understand the system, and you had to explain to us too. And let me say another things. Probably you both, Commission, has to understand how the system will work. So we are in a phase where we are co-creating. Let me say in this way. There are some major element that part of my preoccupation. Start again from an element that has been quite a lot discussed in Italy about what is innovation and what is the meaning of innovation. Okay, our point of view in Italy is that clearly our future will rely in breakthrough innovation as a lot. This is not under discussion. We are not against that. We believe in that. But innovation is not only this dimension. Can you give a little more on what will be really the approach of European Innovation Council as far as concerns the innovation? That in very short time, in very short few words, is there place in the future European Innovation Council innovation in a broader sense or not?
Thanks a lot for this question. I know that this is a question which is very close to the preoccupation of the Italian authorities, and in the discussion that we had in the negotiation of Horizon Europe, it was certainly one of the most important question mark from Italy. So to be very clear, the European Innovation Council will support any kind of innovation, and I insist, any kind of innovation, but with a focus on breakthrough, transformative, disruptive innovation, meaning that the bulk of the support will be more on deep tech innovation, transformative innovation, more than an incremental one, but does not mean that incremental innovation will not be supported. To be very clear, both, if I could say both, any type, even clearer, of innovation will be supported. So to be transparent and clear on this and to reassure everybody in the room. The second part of your question, which was more at the beginning of your question, was how to present and how to address the access to the European Innovation Council. Let's start by reassuring people. First of all, the European Innovation Council is the continuity of things that exist. I mean, it's not a totally new thing. It's the continuity of schemes that have worked and that are working very well. The Future Emerging Technology Program on its upstream dimension, the SME Instrument Program on its downstream dimension. So people who know those two programs will not be disappointed or surprised by the content of the EIC. The two main things that are changing, nevertheless, are the way to implement them and the type of means that are provided. And if I can just give two examples, one on both sides. On the first one, on the FET, let's say this way, the Pathfinder, the idea will not be anymore to generate knowledge for radical technology, but to see as soon as possible if there is a potential future for those technology in terms of innovation use. And on the side of the accelerator, so the expanded SME Instrument Phase 2, it's in reality the SME Instrument Phase 2 plus the Phase 3 that in reality was never implemented and which had the objective to add this equity support or this debt financing support for the support of our SMEs. So it's just a new step. And so this is why you're right when you say that it's a learning by doing approach, because for us also it's a learning by doing. But we are building on solid grounds. I mean, we are not building on sand. We know where we are starting from. And we have excellent opportunities to build something even more, I would say, interesting for the startups, the SMEs, the labs, and the researchers that are interested in innovation.
Okay, you provoked a lot of questions, but we have no time to do that, but I'm sure we'll approach in the next steps. Just last point, let me say it this way. Okay, I got the point. We are not building on a completely clear and crystal water. We are on a solid experience from the past. That is one point. In any case, to rearrange all these ingredients in a different way is an important step forward, because can completely change how this will create the whole picture of the final results. This concept about the seamless, the idea that creating something that's starting from the creation knowledge to the low TRL up to the real market, it's something sounding and really quite sexy in that sense. Is really seamless, a sort of one single red tape that moves from the one step to the other, or what is your final expectation at hand? How you will measure your satisfaction for that?
It's a real challenge. It's a real challenge, but at least we have created all the conditions to make it possible. So for me, the performance indicator for me in 3 or 4 years' time will be that indeed you had some projects that started with very low TRL and that gradually moved to the TRL beyond TRL 5, because this is a moment where you have the edge in a seamless way. So this is a very simple performance indicator, but a very challenging one. We have all the hook necessary in the legal basis with the Parliament and the Council. It's there. Let's be clear, in the pilot we cannot. But the pilot is just for 1.5 years, so by definition it's just too short. But we have the possibility to do it. It will require also within the Commission a change of culture in the way we work. And this is also one of the challenges of the task force that we have just established. I mean, I have the chance to lead a task force which is composed of 6 different units in 2 different agencies and 2 different Directorate General. If we are able to work all together from 4 different almost legal bodies, I mean, everything will be possible after that. Huh? I can tell you. But I have no doubts, I mean, I have some colleagues here with me, that we can do it. Because it's just a question of willingness of people. And if people are totally determined to make it work, it will work. So let's take a rendezvous in 2 years' time.
Okay, so the first challenge is for you to work and keeping together all these things. Alberto, I just moved the microphone to him. I would say you can stay here. Jean-David, it has been a pleasure again.
Pleasure for me.
And thank you a lot. You have a great challenge to win, and it's not an easy task.
Thank you so much, Jean-David. Please stay on stage. I would like to invite Luca Moretti, Daria Ciriaci, Nicoletta Modio, Stefano Firpo, Davide Turco, and Emanuele Occhipinti to join me on stage. It's a great pleasure to be here. My name is Alberto Di Minin. I'm professor of Scuola Sant'Anna in Pisa, as well as Italian representative in the configuration SME Access to Risk Finance. And once a month of every 2 months, I find myself in Brussels discussing, extremely well supported by APRE and by my group of experts with Jean-David and the friends from the commissions and the other member states about what is going on in the work programs and what might be the point of view of countries on how to make things a little bit better, fine-tune or change radically things that might not be in line with what we see in the ecosystem. And as I keep repeating to Jean-David, what I'm trying to do is to be like a little bit providing, like being a secretary, no, of a group of people that sometimes that I need to interact with constantly. And it's beautiful to have Jean-David now surrounded by these people, because when we are in Brussels, the thing is that They're not there, I'm the only one. And now, Jean-David, you have the possibility to see what is happening behind the scenes, the phone calls I received before joining you in Brussels. So the way we are going to organize this hour together, we try not to be late for lunch in Italy, maybe 10 minutes late if I'm allowed, is to organize this in three rounds. Imagine we are in the program committee in Brussels. You don't have countries here, but you have stakeholders. We will go on 3 rounds of Q&A or comments, and then after each round, I will give you back the floor, as you do normally in Brussels, and you try to address the issues that surfaced. So, do you need a pen, Jean-David, to take notes, or you have a pen? Bene. Okay, so the 3 rounds are the following. The first we'll discuss about the firms, what kind of firms, what kind of innovation is the EIC seeking and supporting. The second is finance, how to blend it, how to leverage. EIC, what is the support that we need to get from the private sector, from private investors through the EIC. And the last round is going to be on the ecosystem. So we try to understand, is our ecosystem ready for the EIC? And this is a very critical issue that we will close with. Many thanks to APRE for organizing this. I'm very happy I'm very lucky to have the support of APRE here in Italy, and I think the other colleagues in the committee and the ecosystem share with me gratitude with respect to APRE for their institutional role to be connectors. Let me start with the first round, and let me both be a gentleman and respectful of the ABC, and we can go with ladies first and in alphabetical order. So first Nicoletta and then Daria. So Nicoletta Amodio, giustamente. Nicoletta, ciao. So when did you arrive? Just now. I didn't see you before. Since 2013, we've been working together, observing the reaction of Italian SMEs with respect to Horizon 2020. Now, can you tell us, and tell Jean-David and everyone, the spirit of giving Jean-David something to comment on, what is your expected reaction of SMEs towards EIC? There was a lot of enthusiasm when the SME instrument started, the phase 1 and the phase 2. Now, from your observatory in Confindustria, Innovazione e Confindustria, you have the possibility to understand how SMEs are reacting to this. Let's try to keep 2-3 minutes your intervention, so we have time for the 3 rounds.
Very briefly, thank you. Let me start by saying that we support the European Innovation Council. We as Confindustria, as enterprises, we believe that innovation is a central pillar of the European strategy. So I think that Confindustria, but also all the enterprises, bigger and small, will support this approach. And we have all one of the European target, it's clear to translate the research result into products. You know, that's what we are trying to do with the value chain, with the partnership, with the Horizon Europe. So this is the general strategy that Europe is following. And I was just thinking before how we can explain the European Innovation Council to enterprises. And the first thing that I will say is it is a revolution in continuity. Because you know that the first thing that sometimes seems difficult to understand to enterprises, something that's changed in every year. So we worked a lot on the SMEs instrument, and we have a very good reaction from enterprise. You know that we supported it from the start. We supported it because it is answered the needs of some enterprises. It's the only instrument that allows only one enterprise to present a project. It's the only instrument that focuses on the application of research and innovation. So it is the one that it's easily understandable from an entrepreneur and enterprise. So this is our support, and we are explaining the Innovation Council as an effort to improve, to work, to build on the success of the SMEs instruments and to solve the problem of the SMEs instrument. So that's the first thing I would like to underline. The other is, as you said before, we hope that the European Innovation Council will cover all the innovation, but not because we are defending incremental innovation, because we strongly believe that, as you said, you cannot tell innovation from the start. You can never tell when the innovation is disruptive or not disruptive, because it's the application of this disruptive. And sometimes also incremental innovation can be disruptive. So the idea is to support every kind of innovation and to support, in particular, innovation in every field. Because we know that sometimes from the experience, in particular the financial system, sometimes is easier to support light innovation. But Europe needs hard innovation, needs manufacturing innovation, needs innovation in health, so needs this kind of innovation that is riskier, that is more difficult to do. So I think that the message is that we should look for disruptive innovation, disruptive application of the innovation, and the disruptive can be everywhere.
Daria, thank you, Nicoletta, for this. Daria, as head of European Affairs of CDP, we'll have the opportunity to discuss with you what is the role of Cassa Depositi e Prestiti in implementing, supporting EIC, the European Commission in the implementation of EIC. But let me now ask you the same question I asked to Nicoletta. What kind of innovation, in your opinion, should the EIC support?
Well, I would start saying that I agree almost with everything that Nicoletta has just said. So we welcome the European Innovation Council. Is a great step forward. We welcome a lot the fact that it has maintained the option to have grants and equity, the option to blend the two things together, the option of supporting both incremental and disruptive innovation. And I would say also that is a breakthrough innovation in itself, because we start speaking about a top-down approach, something that some years ago was let's say a little bit heretical, no? Because we were saying that the market was doing everything by itself. We have understood that having a more industrial approach in which there is an institution, in this case a board of people choosing the potential European champions of the future is for sure a good way forward. And it is complementary to other approaches like the Juncker plan and then InvestEU that are more demand-led, let's say, system of financing. No? So there is not someone picking up, but firms, let's say, apply. There is a due diligence and so on. So we do welcome all of these. We were just, let's say, more curious, but maybe there is time to discuss later about it. How would you involve private investors when it comes to equity in the special vehicle purpose? Of course, as the main institutional investor in Italy. We are looking forward to know more on that. And when you speak about projects that are not, let's say, economic and financial sustainable, not bankable, no? Exactly what do you mean? Because, we will need profit. CDP is not a profit-led institution for sure, no? Because our aim is to sustain the economic development of the country. But in any case, if you have a special vehicle purpose, profit needs to come.
Stefano, your analysis when you were playing another role in your previous life, the performance of Italian SMEs during the EIC pilot made you raise your eyebrow a little bit, and we have long discussions about this. If I can ask you a very simple question, what is your biggest concern and your biggest hope when it comes about SMEs, Italian SMEs, facing the EIC challenge?
Yeah, I have very mixed feelings about this. Because on one hand, I understand and I appreciate a lot the ambition and the bravery somehow that there is behind this very important initiative. And I don't want to scale it down. And I think it's important that Europe set a line which is ambitious and competitive with other innovative systems. So that's very good. And I also understand that we have to, to participate in the race, in the technological race, with other continents on, the kind of value chains that you mentioned in your presentation. I think this is good. But we also have to take into consideration and bear in mind that Europe is still a superpower in very traditional businesses. And we have to play the game in attack, maybe on these new frontiers of innovation, but we have also to play in defense on what we are doing doing a great job now. I think about, mechanics and the like. And this is particularly true for Italy, which might be a moderate innovators, but we're still the second manufacturing power in Europe, and our system is still exporting 100 billion euros in mechanics. So we have to make sure that this thing will not crowd out somehow this kind of innovation. It's there, it's important. It's what makes nowadays Europe sustainable. So we have to bear in mind these two opposite things and try to find a balance. That's my I don't know if it's a concern, but for example, I appreciate that on your priorities, you set priorities which are very in line with the strategic value change which has been scattered by the European Commission recently. And that's very important because you need to have an industrial policy vision on this thing. And this is key. But on the other hand, you have to bear in mind that this innovation emerge from the texture of what is Europe today. And my second thing, just very briefly, remember that if we want to beef up our ecosystem, first and foremost, in my opinion, you need a market. So if you want to play the race on digital, for example, we have to come up with a digital single market. This is key, otherwise we don't have the market, okay? And I will have other comments, but maybe.
Yes, we'll get back to you, Stefano. I should have said that, of course, you're introducing the General Manager of Medio Credito Italiano. For those of you that don't know, Stefano, I interacted with Stefano as Director General in MISE, Ministero dello Sviluppo Economico, as he was the Director General, specifically focused on the SMEs, and we'll get back to your role there and your experience. Luca, as representative in the Horizontal Committee, I'm asking you a different type of question. Stefano was talking about a balancing act between different types of innovation, different types of firms, but there is a little bit of debate whether the structure of scheme of EIC is tilting a little bit the balance towards certain sectors, okay, of research and of innovation. Maybe less focused on, let's say, health, maybe more focused on digital. Is this a concern to you now that you have Jean-David here and everybody to share with us?
So thank you for invitation, first of all. So I have a mixed feeling because I'm representative of Italy in the Strategic Program Committee, but I'm from CNR,
Okay.
So I'm biased by my nature. So I have a lot of occasion to discuss with Jean-David in the strategic program committee, so I try to put on the table today some question I already raised it to him in order to provide to the general public the same reply. So our feeling is that sometime the research in cooperation with the low TRL is disregarded. So you know, you provided to the strategic program committee that there was the FET are replaced by the Pathfinder, but we have the feeling that research in cooperation, which will be the basis of the new innovation in the next future, will succumb a little bit toward market creation. So we don't have to forget that the purpose of the framework program is to create an equal level of capability in Europe. So sometimes we have, it is not a competition between innovation and the research. We want just to have the research correctly addressed toward a creation of homogeneous Europe. And what has been said before, it's the possibility to have some thematics missed, because in this scale-up market creation, it's more familiar to digital, to ICT, where some other thematics like health or mechanics or whatever, which are still important for Europe and for countries like Italy, should succumb in this sort of competition for funds.
If I may add something, Luca, let me try to bring at this point Emanuele Occhipinti on the picture here, because to kind of like put down to earth what has been said so far, let's ask an entrepreneur. Emanuele, you have been one of the lucky recipients of the support of the previous scheme of that was deployed through Horizon 2020. Without entering too much into the debate of what should happen next, tell us why was it important for you?
Thank you very much, Alberto. A very important question. And I would like to thank also APRE and the European Commission for inviting me and to give us, as Green Rail, the opportunity to share with you our story. It's very important to be here because everything started with an European project. I remember it was 4 years ago that in that part of my life, I was in charge to help company to manage and to get European funds. And I remember that the founders of the Green Rail, Giovanni Maria De Lisi, came to me just with the draw and with what I thought it was a brilliant idea. And he told me, Emanuele, I have that idea, but I really don't know how to finance that. Please help me to arrive to the market. And we can say right now that thanks to the European Commission that we arrived and we got TRL 8 and now we are entering in the market. And we won the SMI instrument phase 1, and then after 3 tentatives and 1 seal of excellence, and we finally, on the summer 2016, we won the SMI instrument phase 2, and it was really, I mean, a really big challenge to win that. I remember that summer. I remember in that time we were the only startup in the sector, and now I'm gonna tell you which kind of sector that won that kind of program. And Green Rail is as my instrument that is in the sector of transportation. We design, develop, and produce sleepers that are made with an inner core in concrete and an outer shell in plastic and rubber recycled. And compared with the traditional one that are the concrete one, it has several advantages: technical, environmental, and economical one. And really fast, the technical one, it is because it is more elastic. It means that it reduces the pulverization of the ballast. The ballast are the stones that are below the sleepers. And it means that it's allowed to reduce the cost of maintenance up to 40%. And also this characteristic of the sleeper that is more elasticity, it's allowed to reduce the noise, the vibration. The noise up to 40%, the vibration up to 40% and the noise up to 2 decibel. It's a really high number. We did the test with CNR and the PISA in particular. And so we are very proud of that. And of course, it has also an environmental advantages because thanks to the special outer shell, the special mix of the outer shell, we are allowed to reuse 35 tons per each kilometer of plastic from urban waste and end-of-life tires. So thanks for European Commission. Right now we are here to share our experience.
Davide, from a technical point of view, no? You're seeing Indaco Ventures being present very much into the discussions. We had a conference call with Jean-David a few months ago through you and Alvise, and Indaco Venture is looking. You are looking at this as a new actor entering the field, and of course, as an actor investing and supporting innovation, you need a taxonomy of innovation. By definition, otherwise you don't do anything. However, you hear the discussion, and what is missing, in your opinion, given this taxonomy, about opportunities or areas of investment? Or in other words, how is EIC, from your perspective as an investor, characterizing itself on the target of companies?
Thank you, Alberto. Thank you to the organization for inviting me. Yes, you are right. We as a VC investor, we have, of course, taxonomy and priorities in terms of trends, and so we have considered what the European Commission has designed, and of course we think that we are pretty much in line with their definitions, so artificial intelligence, all the precision medicine, healthcare, convergence with digital, all these areas I think are correct. From my point of view, I would like to point out that it is important, rather than discussing about disruptive and incremental innovation, I would like to stress the importance of investing in ambitious companies, because you never, I agree that you don't know at the beginning where you will go to the end. I have example of a company where we invested that started with a technology for a nano coating that was at the beginning for sensors, and now they have developed a technology in liquid biopsy that is one of the most interesting areas, and I have seen also in the slide that Jean-David presented. So it is important to leave room for ambitious entrepreneurs. So I think the idea of the Commission to have a part of the measure that is dedicated to equity, it could be a positive sign, because goes to entrepreneurs that are ready to open up the capital of their company. So I see that is very important. Then I can understand that there must be a balance among the different areas. So in Italy, maybe we have some strength in areas that are not in digital. So I think that having a well-balanced deployment among life sciences and digital space would be, of course, welcome for us.
Keeping something that you said to me, like keeping an eye on unconventional forms of ambitious innovation. And
yes,
the taxonomy is, so this word of unconventional is very interesting and probably very relevant for this country. Jean-David, we're doing excellent on time. So do the magic in 5 minutes to give a first round of responses to my fine ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks, Alberto, and thanks to all the panelists. Very quickly, in 5 minutes.
Now you'll see
I
what it
will
does.
try. I will try.
Russell.
I will try. Yes, indeed. The vision that we have for the European Innovation Council is a revolution in continuity, building on what Nicoletta said. So anything that works very well, the approach towards a single beneficiary, in particular in the accelerator scheme, something that we will expand in the future, by the way, also in the Pathfinder, because there will be the possibility of a single beneficiary in the Pathfinder post-2020. So this kind of simplification will remain. The fact that we will support any kind of innovation is also a fact. So including in the most traditional sector, including in manufacturing and so on, because as you said rightly, what is disruptive is the use of the technology, not the technology itself. So this is perfectly understood and is perfectly in line with our vision. And this is the reason why we made clear in the context of the negotiation with Council and Parliament that indeed we will support any type of innovation, not entering into this false debate between incremental, disruptive, transformative, and so on. The second thing is that we do believe that in order to support the best proposal, we have to combine two things. First, to continue with a bottom-up approach, because this is the way to identify the most promising innovation that could flourish anywhere. But also because we are, at the end of the day, responsible also for money coming from European citizens to invest where the European citizens have decided that we have to go. And in particular in areas that are relating, for example, to climate change, that are relating to inequalities, that are relating to... So anything that is popping up from the decision of the citizen of the Union in the context of the European election or in the context of the future Commission, all this kind of top-down approach must also take place. And this is the reason why you have within the EIC, on both sides, upstream and downstream, some possibility of top-down approach. This is absolutely necessary also if you want to accompany some areas where it has been decided indeed to create European champion. What happened recently in HPC, for example, in high-performing computer, is typically a part of something that you can call an industrial policy in this area. And in this case, I mean, you have to be top-down. Of course, potentially with a bottom-up technology, but regarding the objective, you must be top-down. And this will be the same for the EIC. Now, regarding how we will intervene in the market in the form of investments, first of all, what we will do is certainly not to create a kind of crowding out effect, but on the contrary, to create a crowding in effect. The rationale for our intervention, and this is a starting point, is that on this very particular segment where we would like to intervene, you remain with a lot of private actors, in particular in VC, but not only in VC, in family offices, in business angels, and so on, that remains reluctant to go. And especially, either they remain reluctant to go, or they continue to act in a silos approach. So you have a kind of first support, and then if you are lucky, when you are the starter of the company, you have the chance to knock at the door of another potential investor, or the same if he is ready to follow you but not sure, and so on. What we would like to do here is to provide this seamless approach that we discussed a few minutes ago, all over the first stages of growth of this kind of company, in order to act as a kind of anchor investor that is providing some reassurance for the owner of the company, but also for some potential other investor. First point. But of course, if private investors are ready to do it with us, even better. And this is the reason why, answering your question, Daria, that even if in the context of the first call of the EIC accelerator, a startup or an SME may come alone and is calling for a blended finance, so a grant and an equity support, and under the consent, of course, of this company, we will propose the possibility of investment also to other investors, including private one, but also promotional one, or big long-term investment one like CASA, all over Europe. So, because we have, of course, thanks with our cooperation with the EIF and the EIB, we have a big network of investors that could be interested to join. So this possibility will be open. But if there is none investor ready to go, but that after the evaluation of the proposal by other investors and other experts in an area, it is decided that it makes sense to invest in this company, we will go alone. We will go alone, but with, of course, the objective at a certain moment to opt out as soon as the private sector is ready to opt in. So this will be the vision on our side. I was very happy to listen from the success of Emmanuel, so it means that what we are doing is providing added value. A last word, and I'm still within almost the 5 minutes. Huh? Almost, yes, very likely I'm beyond. But on the bankability definition.
We'll get back to the bankability. Keep your point on bankability. Because now okay. What I would like to do, Jean-David, is to emphasize sticking on the finance. Let me go back now to Davide. Let's start with the three friends from the finance industry. Crowding out versus crowding in. Let's be of the tools that Jean-David is describing, which do you think is going to be more relevant for ensuring there's going to be a crowding effect from you and your colleague around Europe, and what is going to prevent crowding out? If you have like one element to make sure, Jean-David, make sure that this doesn't happen or this happens, what that would be?
First of all, of course, we are just starting to discuss this instrument that is not pretty clear to me how it works. So these are just
clarity.
First, simplicity and clarity. That is the first point that we have to make it clear. Then my suggestion is to have as much as possible a partnership among public and private investors, because I am a little bit afraid of investment done only by public player in the equity of companies, because we see how complicated it is to deal with entrepreneurs. So my suggestion is to find all the times that is possible a partnership. Then it's true that there are situations when the private investors, that could be venture capital, business angel, or so on, are not ready to invest. But I think that there could be the possibility to study some forms of asymmetrical split among risk and return for private and public investors that could in a way help the public investor to go and make investment and dealing with entrepreneurs and the complexity of this activity, and on the other side having the private to invest in situation where the risk probably is very high. So I am available on that to cooperate, because I think it is very important.
Stefano, stick on finance. You have a vast experience on this, both from the banking side and from the industrial side. Let's focus on the special purpose vehicle and on the role that the EIF will have in the scheme of blended finance that will be deployed through EIC. On the governance and on the structure of on the investment guidelines of this special purpose vehicle, what would you want to say? Like, what would be the advices and the watch outs that you want to give here in front of the audience?
Yeah. First, let me say that I'm in this awkward position of commenting a black box, which is basically a black box. So we still have very few details on how this thing will work. But for sure, I would like to take the same note that Davide was mentioning. And first and foremost, from an Italian perspective, the Italian startup ecosystem and the Italian VC industry is still in its infancy.
It's still?
In its infancy.
Okay.
Is it developing quite well, but it's still in its infancy. And so far, I'll put it maybe a little bit bluntly, but so far, the EU intervention in creating more convergence within Europe in terms of the VC industry development has not been, in my opinion, totally effective. Actually, we're seeing, incoming more divergence among the different systems between the Nordics and the south of Europe. So I'm a bit worried that this instrument, or maybe there is an opportunity, I don't know, there's still mixed feelings as well here.
Might widen the gap.
Might widen the gap, on one hand. I agree with Davide that I also worry that this, big intervention in late stage VC, where there is even some sort of market failures from the normal VC industry, might be very, very challenging. Even considering this opt-in, opt-out clause that you've been mentioning. And still it's not clear how the SPV will be funded. Is the funding of the SPV open to private investors, to national promotion banks or the like? And another important thing which might be key to expand finance, also to finance, towards talented, innovative startups and SMEs, maybe also trying to open up the view on all the applicants. For example, nowadays the financial system in Italy couldn't help the applicants because the seal of excellence is a sort of private, unknown element that you have to came across almost by chance. So it would be important to open up this thing in order to come up with more finance, also on those projects which were considered good but didn't pass through.
But fortunately, we have Cassa Depositi e Prestiti. We are so lucky that we have. Daria, what, in your opinion, are the welcome synergies between EIC and CDP? What should EIC try to do in order to achieve such synergies?
Well, apart from considering that we will save the world, no?
Of course.
Of course. Well, there are...
Make a world a better place.
Yes.
Let's not be ambitious.
And so on. Well, there are 4 words that I've liked, especially from what David says. So critical mass and anchor investors. So I see the synergies exactly there. Because the scope at European level of the European Innovation Council is somehow the same one that Cassa Depositi and Prestiti has at the moment in Italy. Cassa is active in the venture capital market since 2014, is extremely committed. They will be the implementing partners of the Italian Innovation Fund. So we will try to fill the gaps in Italy that the European Council can help us to, let's say, to to make them a little bit less wider, because in the end, as Stefano was saying, the Italian venture capital represents more or less the 11% of the German one, 14% of the French one. So we are, in any case, speaking about a market where critical mass is essential, where institutional investors acting as anchor investors are essential. So is there where I see the synergies. I see synergies in strengthening the Italian ecosystem of innovation. Again, Cassa is working there, especially trying to fill the gap in the technology transfer world, so helping transferring technologies is filling the gap with another set of funds and fund of funds and investment platforms. So this is where we can for sure act together. On the other side, we still have not only a fragmented venture capital market in Europe, but a fragmented capital market, a banking union that doesn't exist, a digital market that is not completed, fragmented tax systems, no? So it is not enough to have the money, so to make access to money easier, but of course all the regulatory framework are essential, where we need the help of the Commission for sure.
Luca, in particular, in part Daria, but also in particular Stefano and Davide has emphasized this black box element that is somehow still hanging there and while we are deploying the program. What, in your opinion, is the most urgent set of information and guidelines that should surface as soon as possible from Brussels in order to address the needs and the concerns of these gentlemen? When we have, after a couple of beers in Brussels, we say, like, who's gonna get all the money, of the reinvestment? Is Jean-David flying away with the money? No, but like, besides the reinvestment point,
the black box.
Quella. No, what is the most urgent set of information that you think needs to be given out?
So I already know the reply because I listened to Jean-David several times. So I leave to him the pleasure to explain later on. But I have some question. As I said, I already raised during the strategic program committee that should be interesting for our audience today. So hopefully, at a certain moment, the SPV will start to have a positive profits. Where those money will go at a certain moment. I know, I understood that there is a balance between the loss and gain, but so maybe it is important for the private investor who will put the money in the SPV to know where the money will go at a certain moment.
I would like to close this round, giving the floor to Emanuele and Nicoletta to offer us the perspective of companies. So we've seen Emanuele welcoming the support, money, lump sum, non-dilutable investment that was coming before. Now, put yourself in the shoes of the entrepreneurs that now see this blended equity. Would you like to receive this support from your perspective? Would you be here in a few years with your next venture welcoming against Commission for this type of investment? And Nicoletta, what do you think in general Italian companies are interested in this type of support, or a more, the non-dilutable form of investment was the way that we should have stick to? So,
first,
yeah.
Nice question.
Grazie. They pay me for this.
I think that we have to link with Mr. Malò said in his speech, that I really appreciate that passage when he said money are not enough. And as a startupper and as a shareholder of startup, I can say that I can confirm that money are not enough. It's really important to launch your idea. It's really important to arrive close to entering the market, but then we, as a startup, should need an extra effort, an extra help to help us to entering in the market. What I mean, we are talking about innovative project, innovative idea, innovative company, and sometimes this project, this idea, are something that doesn't exist before in the market, are completely new, and are real and high difficult to face, to challenge, to compete with the other company that already exist. What they mean is that an example in the public procurement sometimes are required experience, are required track record, are required turnover, and especially in some sector, it represents a real high entry barrier. That's what we really, as a startup, we should need, we would like to see in the next future. What another element that we should need is at the same level, at the same criteria, sometimes a startup has some disadvantages to compete with or a foreign company or a bigger company. So what I would like to say is that the European Commission should apply some criteria to not to help, but to allow to the company that he, as a Commission, financed and helped to grow, to remain alive, and to enter in the market.
Nicoletta, we are giving back the floor to Gian David on the voice of finance, that money is not enough. Do you agree? Do you think that our companies, our SMEs and our innovators in Italy agree on the statement that Manuela is bringing forward?
Absolutely. I think that what I liked most in the new approach of the Commission, not only in the EIC, but in the general approach, is to think of a flexible approach. As we know at the national level, and Stefano knows very well, if you start from the project of an enterprise, you can create around this project a financial architecture that puts together different instruments. That's what an enterprise needs. Sometimes the enterprise do not know how many instruments can be used to finance. So I think that this can be the approach. The idea is that we start from an industrial project, because the EIC is looking for industrial project, no research project. An industrial project may need a different approach and different instruments to be financed. And the Commission should guarantee the use of different ones that are also outside the Innovation Council. And this can be one point. The other is that, as they said, the direct action of the Commission should work with the market actors. So they should not work in a parallel way. They should not. So the Commission should clarify, that Stefano said, how it will work directly and how it will support to filling the gap of a calm investor of a long term.
Gian David, many different issues. As we're talking about money, it was complicated. You knew that, right?
I will start by the end of the intervention, which were not related to money, but as you recall it, is absolutely key. I mean, money is absolutely necessary, but only money will not change the game. Full support with what you said, Nicoletta. I mean, one of the challenges on our side will be also to create the conditions for the beneficiaries of the EIC at both levels, Pathfinder and Accelerator, to have an easier access, or at least a relevant knowledge of all the other possibilities that exist in their journey of growth. And this will be something that we will have to provide within the EIC. I mean, we will start to do it in the upstream dimension with the EIC program managers under the Pathfinder, but the idea would be also to do the same regarding the Accelerator a bit later allow us to do it just after 2020, but we will do it. Second, and building also on what Emmanuel said, I'm sure that you have noted that in our proposal for the future EIC, you have something that apparently not a lot of people have highlighted, including a representative of member states in the Council or in the Parliament, which nevertheless is very powerful, which is the use of specific EIC innovative public procurement. Because, as I said earlier in my speech, if you want to grow up, the starting point is to have commercial business, is to have commercial activities. And indeed, especially when you are a disruptive company, which is coming with a new technology, the fact to have a first buyer is very helpful. And if you could have a first buyer which is also coming from the public sector, providing you therefore a certain credibility and a kind of stamp and whatever, because you are changing the standards in a certain area, it will be also very helpful. And this is the reason why we will propose this kind of EIC innovative public procurement. Sorry, post-2020, because we have not the legal background to do it right now, but we will do it. Having said that, we'll start to discuss how to create those innovation public procurement initiative already this year in the context of the embryo of the EIC forum. So just for you to know. And this, of course, will complement a number of activities that we are providing and proposing in the context of the business accelerating services, on which Natasha will tell you more this afternoon in details. Now, going back to the finance per se, and in particular, first on the global objective. Allow me to be a bit provocative first. Personally, economically speaking, I'm a liberal. So no problem on the fact that I do believe that the private sector is sometimes a better place to do a number of things. But the experience showed me that on a number of cases, the private sector has not delivered. And in this particular segment, I mean, the private sector has promised to deliver for the several last decades and have not delivered. I mean, it's just a fact, and it's not a question to blame, because it can be perfectly understood why the public sector and the private investor didn't do it. It's perfectly understandable. You have several reasons for that. But it's just a matter of fact that it has not delivered, despite the fact that there was some public-private partnership targeting these particular difficulties and market failures that we had. Now, because of this matter of fact, we propose something else. Instead of saying we gave a mandate in the context of a public-private partnership to the private sector to tackle the issue, we say the public sector will do it with the private sector if the private sector is ready to join us. It's the same, but the approach is a bit different indeed. Because what we see is that up to now it didn't work. So we are changing the way to do it, but again, with the same volunteer, not to create a crowding out effect, because, I mean, it should be the private sector who should provide this kind of support. And with keeping in mind also something else, and because you were proposing the idea of asymmetric conditions, I have always in mind this motto of socializing the losses and privatizing the profits. Here is not the purpose. By definition, because we are intervening on a market failure, you have a certain dimension of socializing the losses. This is the purpose of the public intervention. But regarding the profits, there is no reason why we should privatize them if it is a public sector, so therefore the citizens who have invested first. So it will be a better and more balanced shared. Having said that, it should lead to some asymmetric condition, because we could protect downside the investment of the private sector, but we will share in a balanced way the upside return. So we could have, of course, a more in-depth discussion on this, but this is more or less the approach. Second, I fully agree with Stefano that you have a total disparity between the countries regarding the VC sector today. But again, this fragmentation exists also in the US. I mean, let's be clear, in the middle of the US, you have no VC at all, almost. You have hubs. What is key, nevertheless, is the interconnection between the hubs and the possibility for any startup that could emerge anywhere to benefit from the VC sector, if it emerges in the middle of the US or if it emerges in a country in Europe where you have not locally the VC sector. There you have two options, and we are following the two paths. The first one is to offer a solution at EU level in this area. This is the purpose of the EIC. And you were mentioning Italy, but imagine the situation in a number of Eastern and Central European countries where you have not, sometimes even a promotional institution. So the EIC is offering a solution for some startup in those countries that does not exist today. Having said that, does it solve the issue you are mentioning? Not at all. It's just offering a solution for some emerging startup. But the issue of the support to the emergence of a solid and robust VC sector in all the countries is another issue that the EIC will not solve. That is not the purpose of the EIC. There, what we could do is a number of actions that are proposed either in the European Monetary Union or Banking Union, or that are proposed also in the context of some actions that will be implemented within InvestEU. There you have some possibilities, but not via the EIC. The EIC is really focused on the innovator and the entrepreneur, not on the ecosystem per se. How the SPV will be funded? The SPV is not anymore an SPV. Because, because the advantage of of calling something an SPV is when you don't know what it will be.
Okay, we need to quote this.
A specific purpose I call, it means everything and nothing. But we know already now what it will be. So it will be a fund. This is not very a big surprise. It will be an anonymous company that will be located in Luxembourg, that will have a viable capital in order to be able to receive additional investments. It will be an evergreen fund, and it will use the RAIF, Luxembourgish law, so based on alternative investment fund. So when this will be established after the summer break, the advantage of this kind of form is that it will be able for this fund to start with a single shareholder commission, but to attract and to incorporate additional shareholders at any moment, either at the level of the fund or the level of compartment, be it at a national level or at thematic level or whatever. So this will be possible, and this kind of fund has the possibility also to provide a different, an important different type of investment in equity, quasi-equity, debt financing, so venture debt, whatever. So a number of things could be proposed there. I fully agree with what you said, Stefano, regarding Seal of Excellence and how we could find a way to provide them with funding. There will be a huge change in the new framework program, thanks to the change of the enabling regulation in state aids.
Perfect. Very welcome. Finally.
But on this, we need the member state support, because this is at the member states that the enabling regulation will be voted. But on the side of the framework program and on the side of the discussion that we had between DG Competition and DG Research, this is done. So the money provided by national level or by structural fund will be considered as exempted of state aid if you apply our rules.
You made a lot of people very happy with announcing this.
But
in particular, because
this is a proposal
I will not
now
receive hundreds of
officially
emails asking me
of
the
not
names
only
of
DG RTD but also of DG Competition. So it's tabled, but now it's up to the member state to jump on it and to accept it.
Okay,
Sorry, I'm too long. But
you said that, but we're going to have a short final round. We've been granted 15 more minutes by the organizer, so but I want to close on a discussion on the ecosystem, because I know that you just said that it's a little bit out of scope with respect to the EIC intervention, but there are strong believers here that ecosystem, the proximity of the to the right ecosystem is a fundamental element to shape an SME, a startup, an entrepreneur's competitive advantage. To be very concrete, Emanuele, in a flash, what did the ecosystem give Green Rail?
Really flash.
Dov'è?
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Really flash, I can give to you our experience that for us it was really important, the ecosystem where we born. I mean, the university, we were incubated in Polyhub, that is incubator of the Polytechnico. Polyhub, the University, Politecnico di Milano. Also the European Enterprise Network that help us to
Enterprise Europe Network.
Exactly, and of course that all the institutional partners that help to finalize the research. Most of them are also here on the stage. I hear that time is running, and for a startup, time is running really fast. So really welcome to this program that can bring a startup to a really TRL early stage to TRL 8, but in the real things, I mean, that to help them to enter in the market.
Stefano, in your previous role, you had been extremely practical and mission-oriented in supporting the ecosystem, the support of digital hubs, the competence centers. These will become very important aspects for the deployment of EIC. But I would like to ask you, in your new role in Mediocredito, what is the type of support as actor of the ecosystem that your institution can give to the design that is surfacing that have been described here? So can you please focus on Mediocredito's role here?
Well, I think there is a huge effort from the Italian ecosystem to be done in order to be ready and get opportunity there. And the effort should be done on the financial instruments, and we're there providing all sorts of finance to SMEs and startups who are willing to participate, and we are also willing to participate directly in the funding. But what is also needed is a service also on non-financial instruments. Mm-hmm. We need to do much more advisory. We need to work much more together. We need to help out SMEs and startups in finding the good scouting, the good partners. I mean, as a system, the effort which is needed to, not only to comply with the EIC new rules somehow, but also more generally on the new Horizon Europe rules, okay, it will be much more challenging. Let me just comment on one thing, because I understood that actually this is not a revolution in continuity. This is a fully fledged revolution. Because what I said is true, that the EIF has changed. The EIF has been very liberal so far, very pro-market in VC, very much, very US kind of, private VC orientation. And what you said is that a complete shift. You're taking a completely different approach. I'm just a little bit scared that you're doing that with the EIF, which is, it's a shift in the cultural approach. And so this is challenging.
in a way, this is also raising the ball and expectations on the preparation that also we can receive from Cassa Depositi e Prestiti for the Italian ecosystem, isn't it, Daria?
Yes, absolutely. I'm sorry, I'm still stuck on the state aid exemption, because I know there is a public consultation that was open yesterday, so I guess it's also on this, so we can do some synergy here, no? Commenting on them. What CASA does to build up synergies? Well, we don't only do it in Italy. We try to, let's say, build up synergies with our, let's say, counterpart in Germany, in France, in Spain. So we have now, let's say, work program aiming at strengthening our joint venture in also in the venture capital market. So this is what we do, let's say, on a broader level since I arrived especially. In the Italian market, I would say that we are really covering or trying to cover with our support all the firm's life, starting really from when it's just an idea and needs to be transferred from university to the market, and in the scale-up phase where we are present since a few years and so on. So this is what we do, critical mass. This is our role, act as anchor investment and crowd in. But what I think is very important from, let's say, the European Commission side is the signal that is given. Once you decide to invest in some sectors or to really make an effort in venture capital, you signal to the market that maybe the risk there is decreasing because there is a public entities like the Commission and maybe other public entities in the countries.
Davide, you've heard Stefano announcing that Mediocredito is preparing to deploy a task force, part of the institution, to support with competences, not necessarily through money, or for the build-up of competences for Horizon Europe. Intesa Sanpaolo has announced similar initiatives, but still, when we discuss, you say, Alberto, Italy remains a peripheral ecosystem with respect to European ecosystem. Now, what should Commission do in order to support actors like yourself that are here to make the most of innovation that happens in the periphery?
Yes, I think it's a crucial question, this one. I think that it is important to, of course, money is not the only answer, I totally agree, but still it's part of the answer because, for example, if we consider Italian market that is less developed in terms of venture capital investments, then this affects also the quality of the management we find in the company where we invest, because of course you are not able to attract the talents, and so this has a negative impact. So it's not a circle, a positive circle, but it's a vicious one. So it is important to go and help this market to develop. I've heard that probably is not EIC the way for doing that. Of course, considering a plus the location in a less developed innovation ecosystem could be a way, but of course I think that it is important that EIF consider in a more in a deeper way this field, because our impression is that much of the investment of EIF goes to the most developed countries, starting from UK. That now probably something will change in that direction, but still I think is not enough the effort to fill the gap.
Nicoletta, you have been my teacher. You are my teachers from time to time when you explain me the complete architecture of things that can be deployed at the European level and the synergy with the national funds and everything. Can you help us provide with one idea considering also what Jean-David has said about the seal of excellence, no? That was one of the elements that we discussed so much about, the missing link to build these interfaces. Structural funds, EIC, and everything else. What could be a simple yet doable and effective strategy to make the European system work well for the Italian ecosystem, to combine different measures?
Your question has 2 points. From the points to support synergies between. I think that what you said about the willing now to modify the state aid rule, and so to have the seal of excellence, the same level of financing, it's a crucial part. But we think that the modification of state rule is also important for value chain. It's important for everything. It's important because we have been talking of synergies for 5 years now. Horizon 2020 was based on synergies, but we did not have the opportunity to put together the actions because we had different rules. So this is very easy to do, to have the same rules, the same levels, and to put together the funds. As far as the ecosystem is considered, I think that Europe can help us, but we have to do our part. So I think that Italy has been working in this direction in these years, and we need just a little step. We need to work together, because we did a lot on the financial part, we did a lot for the intermediaries with the Digital Innovation Hub, cluster, competence centers, and what was already there, the NetWall. So we know that we can just very simply working together. We as Confindustria, for example, we proposed a new instrument that is Connects, is a platform to put together enterprises on partnership, because we think that the secret is to put together all the enterprises, so the larger one and the small one and the value chain. So this can be another instrument that can be offered to everyone. We can very easily do, and we always say that European Commission helps us, because it gives us the deadlines that in Italy. Just
Luca.
one point.
Oh, sorry.
Pilot is the crucial part. For AC, we are in the pilot, so we have to translate theories, what we said, into actions. We think that people are the key factors now, no? So the ones that you are using to help you translating this. And we think that industrial experts can be very useful to give the right direction to the AC. So we worked a lot for the AC board, and many of these applications can be used in other groups and other things. And just the last sentence. We as Confindustria think that we do think that Europe can still win the innovation world. So we are working in this direction.
Luca, before giving the last 5 minutes to Jean-David, tell us what Jean-David is not telling us. In the sense that from your perspective in Brussels and through the horizontal committee, you know how the other ecosystems are preparing for the challenges that everybody has discussed. What are we missing here? What is missing at this table or in the interaction with the EIC? How are the others preparing and probably will be in a few years, again in this room saying we should have done that?
So I'm pretty sure that Jean-David and his colleagues will reply, will satisfy all the questions in the afternoon. So, but which is my feeling as a national representative in Brussels. So we acknowledge that the national research and innovation ecosystem are deeply different in Europe in terms of capability, in terms of national support, in terms of skills, access to finance, and national rules, which are sometimes the very bottlenecks of boosting the innovation process. So we have discussed with other colleagues of other member states which are the best practice in their countries to enhance these steps toward the innovation. And apparently the cross-fertilization among the industry and the university and the research system is the most effective solution. We acknowledge some startups build in close cooperation between research organization or university and SMEs, which can benefit of for instance, the patent portfolio of the universities, which is most of the time larger. Also, the research capability to do some boost to some ideas toward the innovation. So the cross-fertilization among these two worlds is the most effective way. We have a wonderful example from the CNR in Bologna of ecosystem which are very effective and produce results in terms of ideas and also attraction of markets and the private investor.
Thank you. Jean-David, you are in between us and pasta, but there are a lot of important issues to address. Please.
So in front of pasta, I have no chance. Joke apart quickly. First, when I said that the EIC per se will not address the issue of the ecosystem, it's right and wrong. Right, because the type of support that we will provide within the EIC are not addressing the ecosystem, but directly some direct beneficiaries. But in addition, in fact, to the type of support that we will provide within the EIC, you know that in the next framework program in Horizon Europe, there will be another program which is called EU Innovation Ecosystem, which has the purpose to provide support to the ecosystem per se, in complementary to what will be done within the EIC. And in this context, a number of points that were addressed either by Stefano or Davide or Nicoletta will be addressed, but outside the EIC, but still within the innovation pillar. The second thing is that within this support to the innovation ecosystem, we will, of course, continue to support financial intermediaries via our financial instruments. So it's not because within Horizon Europe you have not any more financial instrument that we will not continue to do it. We will just continue to do it in another program, which is InvestEU. So the support that you are receiving today in debt financing or in equity financing in Italy via Innofin will continue to be provided if you are still a candidate to receive it within InvestEU. So there will be a total continuity and even very likely some new instruments that will be proposed. Just to recall that, by the way, the country who benefited the most in terms of debt guarantee for SMEs under Innofin is Italy. Mm-hmm. This is the country where we had not only the most important number of intermediaries that have received guarantee or counter guarantees, but also in total volume, Italy came first. So demonstrating indeed that not only there were an appetite of the innovation ecosystem in terms of finance to participate to this type of program, but also a demand, because not only is the question to receive the guarantees, to use the possibility that is offered, and indeed there was, because we had only a few deals signed with some financial intermediaries, whereas they have not used the totality of the guarantee proposed. I fully agree also that it is a challenge to work with entities that have, up to now, a certain behavior in terms of type of investment. You mentioned EIF, but in fact, we are working with the EIB group, including EIF, in the context of the EIC. But this is true for any of the actors on the ground. I mean, the trend over the last decade was clearly oriented in West liberal approach, let's say it this way, as you said yourself. But now you have a certain shift, and we are not the only one who are making this shift. When you look at some national long-term investment actors, like CASA in Italy, like Caisse des Dépôts in France, like KfW in Germany, I mean, this shift has already started in certain sectors that are considered as a priority, either for the country or for the union. So the shift is there. We start working with the IB group, but in the future, as I told you, because we have designed the structure of the fund in such a way that we could accept at the level of the fund other investors. I mean, at the end, the fund will be managed by people that will come from various origins. On the state aid, just a point I just would like to add. What is proposed is indeed for projects that have received a seal of excellence within the framework program, that the managing authority in structural funds will have the possibility to use the rules of Horizon, meaning the eligibility cost, the aid intensity, everything, and not to restart the whole process and so on. But of course, it will be up to the managing authority to make this choice. It will not be an obligation. But it will not be limited to seal of excellence. It will be open also to any form of co-financing, like, for example, in the context of a teaming project in Horizon today, but also any other form of co-funding in the context of some European partnership in the future. So a lot of opportunities will be open there, and it was absolutely necessary to have this kind of simplification of the level of state aid in order to avoid some unnecessary complexification that was counterproductive at a certain extent. Regarding the point made by Davide on the necessity also to be able to attract talent and to have therefore the continuity to the support to the innovation ecosystem, full support on our side. And there also, we are at a moment at the level of the European Commission where we are thinking of what will make sense in order to support the innovation ecosystem in the context of this innovation ecosystem program. We have started to work with some innovation agencies, but we will expand the discussion with other actors. And regarding the capacity to attract talent locally, or to keep talent locally, which is another dimension, we will be ready to listen from any ideas, because we would like to launch an initiative on this, but a number of possibilities are open. Last point, quickly, the point made by Luca. We do believe that the EIC can only be a success if indeed the interaction between the EU level and the national level is a reality. So you know that we had a long and intensive discussion between the member states also and the Parliament, by the way, on this possibility of a plug-in program. We will prepare the pilot for this. I think it could have also a huge impact on the local ecosystem, because the idea is to make a direct connection between what exists on the ground locally in a country and the possibility that is offered in particular in the context of the accelerator in the EIC, so to have there also a seamless approach. There we will build a pilot as requested by member states. It's challenging because some of them were, let's say, more supportive than others. But at the end, they agreed that we will have a pilot. So we will do this pilot And I do believe that this is certainly a place where we could make another game change if we are successful in the design of this pilot.
Let me thank APRE. Let me thank Intesa San Paolo for APRE for organizing, Intesa San Paolo for hosting us, my panelists. Thank you all for your attention and apologies for having been a little bit late. Let me give a special thank, however, I hope you don't mind, to our guest, Jean-David Malo. It's been a pleasure to work with him. And I always appreciate, Jean-David, your passion and your respect when you're doing your job and you're devoting your career on this. So, warm thank you for this and congratulations, and let's keep our finger crossed for a successful EIC launch. We're gonna be back at 2 o'clock sharp, they tell me from the audience, so hurry up and grab your plate of pasta. Thank you very much.